Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming, the new show where we cover all things FPS. Last year, the devs behind the tactical FPS Insurgency announced they were developing a follow-up title, Insurgency Sandstorm. This week, they released the first bits of real information about the game. Right off the bat, it sounds like Sandstorm is going to be a huge technical improvement over Insurgency. The devs have moved the game from Valve's Source engine to Unreal 4. This move brings with it the ability to create much larger levels with much better graphics. These new screenshots here show you just how good this game can look on Unreal 4. And although technical improvements are fine and dandy, the move also gives the devs the ability to handle drivable vehicles and proper ballistic systems. One of the biggest appeals of Insurgency was just how real the gunplay mechanics felt. It was very accessible as a game, not overcumbered with lots of complicated controls, yet the combat felt very realistic and the weapon handling felt very realistic. Unfortunately, the source version of the game never had travel time or bullet drop, so there was only so far they could take the bullet physics and the weapon physics. With the Unreal 4 engine upgrade, they're adding bullet drop and travel time, so if you really want your M4 to mimic the real life one as closely as possible, the next game should give you exactly that. Personally, I'm really excited for Sandstorm. I was a pretty big fan of the original Insurgency. As a very small indie game, I think it did an incredible job of creating a sort of fast-paced but yet realistic combat environment that a lot of people really enjoyed. The game did incredibly well, and they brought a lot of free DLC content with it as well. I think there's going to be a very big gap for the modern shooter genre now, with Battlefield focusing on the World War I era and rumors that Call of Duty may go back to World War II. There's definitely an area for indie developers to sort of take over the modern military shooter. The game is also going to feature a proper campaign with the option to play 4-player co-op. Instead of going for big, flashy experiences like the Call of Duty campaign, the devs are focusing on telling a smaller, more personal story with the campaign. Set in modern-day Iraq, you'll play as a young girl enlisted in the Kurdish rebel forces. Insurgency currently has a co-op mode, but it's more like multiplayer with bots than a true co-op experience. Sandstorm will have an actual full-fledged campaign. Obviously, Sandstorm will be played more for its multiplayer than anything else, but Insurgency's co-op has a good bit of popularity with the player base as well. Basically, it sounds like the devs are doubling down on all the features Insurgency players care most about. Insurgency started out as a Half-Life 2 mod and became one of the most successful indie FPS titles on Steam. Taking the tactical experience it's renowned for into the next generation of gaming is a big leap, and I can't wait to see it in action. Something else I can't wait to see in action is the upcoming patch for Battlefield 1. DICE have confirmed the next major patch for Battlefield 1 will be released sometime next week. Last month, DICE hinted at the update saying it would include gameplay improvements based on community feedback. Since then, they've launched CTE for Battlefield 1 and already posted patch notes for one major update. DICE have already confirmed that a bunch of the CTE updates will be included in the patch for They Shall Not Pass, but some more could also come out in the next week's patch as well. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm excited though for any sort of game update, balance changes, and bug fixes. EA has also made the announcement that buying Battlefield 1 Premium will automatically upgrade your game to the Deluxe Edition, which includes exclusive cosmetic items and 5 battle packs. The offer ends on March 15th, so it would be reasonable to assume They Shall Not Pass should be released shortly after the offer expires. Big changes are also coming to Overwatch. The PTR was updated this week with an overhaul of Bastion. Blizzard have buffed Bastion's recon mode a little bit more, while also nerfing his sentry mode a little bit. Bastion is one of those characters that can be potentially exploited in the right situation. He's incredibly powerful when in sentry mode currently, and this update should hopefully make him a more interesting player to play. Personally, I've always thought it was very boring to play Bastion because you sit in one spot for most of the round, and these updates should make him more viable as a player on the move. They've also reduced the time it takes to transform into sentry mode, so that means he could be a more interesting player to run around with and then on the spot turn into sentry mode, which won't necessarily be quite as powerful as it was before. So I imagine that there's going to be a lot more interesting plays with Bastion down the road. Blizzard also released a server browser for the Capture the Rooster game mode as part of the recent PTR patch. Players on the PTR can now find lobbies for the CTF game mode as well as other official game modes and custom games. Overwatch's matchmaking is a big point of contention for more of the hardcore players, especially those that don't always want to play with friends. The really cool part of this is that it sounds like the server browser will show custom games as public lobbies, so you won't have to pay for a custom server to play the game with your own rules and options. Most games like Battlefield 1 require you to rent or buy a custom server to set up your own custom rules. Being able to create a custom game and play them online with random players sounds like a great idea. In Rainbow Six Siege news, Velvet Shell dropped this week. I've already done a few videos covering the content of the new DLC, so if you want all the info, be sure to check out those videos in the description. As usual, we get one new map with the DLC, which is free to everyone, whether you bought the DLC or not. The map is Coastline. It's actually pretty good. I haven't played it extensively yet, but I enjoy it so far. But the best part of this DLC is the 2 new operators, which you can unlock with in-game currency without having to pay for the DLC, so that's pretty cool. But what's really cool about this DLC is that I think these are 2 of the most impactful operators that we've seen in DLC so far. Jackal, the offensive operator, gives you the ability to track down roamers, which is extremely important to the current Rainbow Six meta, because roaming right now is a great tactic for slowing down the offensive team and coming up behind them at the worst possible moment. Jackal is a direct counter to this style of gameplay, and I've just been having an absolute blast with him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a standard pick for competitive play. Mira, on the other hand, brings an incredibly good defensive gun to the playing field and a one-way bulletproof glass that you can place onto a reinforced wall, allowing you to set up some truly fortified defensive measures that are very difficult to approach. Both operators also have their counters, and in doing so, they empower some of the other operators out there, like Twitch for taking out Mira's glass, and also Caveira for being able to sneak around without Jackal being able to track her. So there's a lot of really interesting meta changing up in Rainbow Six Siege right now, and I think it's all for the better. Also, if you haven't picked up Rainbow Six Siege yet and you are shy on cash, Ubisoft has brought back one of the best game deals I think they've ever had, which is the starter pack of Rainbow Six Siege, and apparently this is going to be around permanently. So basically, you can get Rainbow Six Siege now for $15. The only caveat is that it doesn't unlock the operators for you. You have to earn them with in-game currency. You can unlock and earn pretty much everything in the game by just playing it a lot, and you get all the DLC maps for free. This is just like an insanely good deal, and I think Rainbow Six Siege has continuously offered some of the best free content that any first-person shooter has made available. As soon as other AAA developers start to follow suit with what Ubisoft is doing, then I think we truly will be in the golden age of gaming. As for upcoming gaming news, this year's Call of Duty will be a return to the series' roots. Activision COO Thomas Tipple said during an investor call that traditional combat will once again take center stage in this year's COD title. The call generally highlighted that Infinite Warfare's spacey futuristic setting and combat mechanics didn't fare well with players. The fact that they just now seem to be coming to this realization is almost laughable considering how long players have been asking for this. Personally, I really hope that Activision really takes the PC port of the COD game seriously this time around. Gameplay mechanics aside, the PC ports of COD games have had the same problems for years. Considering Call of Duty 4 is still a popular title on PC, it'd be nice to have both a return to that era of the franchise's history and a quality PC port to go along with it. In our final bit of news, as part of a media roundtable event at Valve's headquarters this week, Gabe Newell confirmed that they're working on 3 VR titles running on both the Unity and Source 2 engine. Valve has been scrutinized pretty heavily for not really making some full-fledged VR games for their extremely expensive VR hardware. Also for not making Half-Life 3. Gaben confirming that they're working on 3 full VR titles and that they're being built as new experiences, not just extensions of games, is really promising. Of course, many of the media headlines are predicting that one of these games might be Half-Life 3 in an attempt to really sell VR by making it a VR exclusive. I'm sure that would both excite and piss off a lot of people. Then again, it could be exactly what VR needs to take off. Just like Halo single-handedly sold the Xbox, Half-Life 3 could single-handedly sell VR into the living rooms of millions. Regardless of what these titles are, it's good to know that Valve are still making games, and that's good for anyone who's a fan of their work, even if it means they might not get to play them without dropping $800 on a VR system. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.